Hey everybody, so I think I might have jinxed the Boston Bruins. I'll explain in just a second. Before we get into the video, I just want to remind everyone to please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. It is greatly appreciated and helps out the channel a lot. So let me explain. I think I jinxed the Boston Bruins because back on December 5th, I did a video titled, "Have the Boston Bruins already won the Atlantic Division?" The Boston Bruins at that time had a 14-point division lead. They were on a long, they had been playing very good. They were on a win streak. They had been playing very well. And things, it looked like Boston was running away with the Atlantic Division. No one else was even close. Since I did that video on December 5th, the Boston Bruins have not won a game. They've lost 5 in a row now, 4 of them in regulation, 1 of them in overtime, and their division lead has now sunk down to 8 points from 14. Buffalo is only 8 behind them now through the same number of games played with 38 points to Boston's 46. And Boston just hasn't played all that well in the last week and a half. And now, obviously, I'm half joking about the jinx thing. What really has happened is Boston has hit a particularly difficult part of their schedule. However, I do find it kind of funny and ironic that literally the day that I do that video about them already having won the division, basically, they lose that night, and then they lose their next 4 games as well. And the streak could continue to Saturday night against Florida. So I don't actually think that I jinxed the Boston Bruins, but it is funny how this has gone and how the timing has worked out on this. If we go back to December 5th, the day that I did that video, I recorded it, released it before any games that day. That night, Boston played the Chicago Blackhawks. They lost 4-3 in overtime. They did get a point out of the game, and it was a big comeback from them because they were down 3-0 in the third period, but ended up coming back and losing in overtime to get at least a point. They lost that night. Then on Saturday, the 7th, they got blown out 4-1 by the Colorado Avalanche and really just got worked that entire game. Colorado was the much better team. So at this point, they've lost a couple games in a row. Okay, not a big deal. They're still the Bruins. They're still one of the best teams in the league. They're fine. Monday night, they lose to Ottawa 5-2 in Ottawa. It's the first game of a 4-game road trip, and that, I think, has been the worst loss so far. Chicago obviously wasn't a great loss, not a team that you want to be losing to, but the Ottawa loss was really bad because they really weren't even in that game. The Senators dominated that game from start to finish, won by 3 goals, and that was certainly the worst game that I've seen. Maybe the Bruins play all season long. It's definitely up there. That was a rough night. So the losing streak goes to 3. Then they have to play the Washington Capitals on Wednesday in Washington. And Washington's a team that Boston just doesn't beat. If you watched my stream or you watched any of that game, you probably heard this mentioned. The Washington Capitals have beaten the Boston Bruins 16 out of the last 17 times that they have played. So, yeah, Boston just doesn't beat Washington. It was a close game. It was a good game. It was fun to watch, but the Bruins end up losing by 1, 3-2 in regulation. So the losing streak goes on to 4. And then last night, Boston plays Tampa Bay, or last night on date of recording. I'm not going to drop this video till Saturday, so 2 nights ago for you guys listening. But anyway, Thursday night, Boston plays Tampa Bay in Tampa, game 3 of the 4-game road trip. And the Bruins lose 3-2. Again, they had a 1-0 lead in the game. They blew it. Were down 3-1 at one point, gave up 3 unanswered, and then scored late to get back within 1. But not enough as they lose in regulation again to bring the losing streak to 5. No wins in their last 5 games, only 1 point. Not what we wanted to see from the Boston Bruins, and certainly not what I was looking for after literally this starting the day that I dropped a video about them being dominant and already winning the division, which now that division lead has been almost cut in half. So while I don't really think that I jinxed the Bruins, I do expect them to start winning again here very soon, looking at their schedule ahead. it is kind of funny and ironic how this has turned out. It just so happens that they've hit a very, very difficult part of their schedule right now. The last, week or so has not been easy. Obviously, Chicago was a winnable game, but they ended up losing that one in overtime. They had been on a pretty good win streak before that, so that wasn't a big deal. Then they had to play Colorado, obviously one of the best teams in the league, a very difficult matchup there. The Ottawa loss is really bad. That's a team they 100% should have beaten. But then they had Washington and Tampa Bay on back-to-back nights on the road. That's obviously very difficult as well. And now they have to go to Florida Saturday night, so that's not going to be an easy game either. This just happens to be a really difficult part of the schedule. But once they're done in Florida, they get a couple of days off, and then they come back home for 4 straight games against the Kings, Islanders, Predators, and Capitals. Obviously, the LA is a very winnable game. The rest of those are kind of difficult, but they're on home ice. They should be able to get some points out of those. Then they have a home-and-home with the Buffalo Sabres, and they finish out the year on New Year's Eve at New Jersey with an afternoon game. So I do expect Boston to get back into the win column here pretty soon. I do think that they're going to be okay long term. I do expect them to win the division. But it's just funny how literally since I said that they had already won the division, they have not won a game since. So it does feel a little bit like a jinx. In reality, it's just more of a very difficult part of their schedule. But we'll see what the Bruins can do going forward. It's been a tough stretch for them here, but look for them to get back into the win column soon. Maybe against Florida, maybe against LA. Certainly they have potential to win some of these games going forward. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.